you, Cherish viewers. This is Fire Service in Focus. This is a program tailored with you in mind. It is good to be back on your studios and your screens on a Monday, 2 p.m. like this. Today, we have a lot for you. And the focus of our discussion is the heart of Fire Service, which is the Greater Accra Command. And without much ado, we'll go for a short break. When we come, I would introduce my guests who are already seated in the studio. Thank you for joining us. Let's take this short break. We'll be right back.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology have saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Thank you, cherished viewers. Welcome to the Fire Service in Focus series. This is a program that has been specifically designed with you in mind. This is where we talk about everything concerning the Ghana National Fire Service, just to bring you up to speed about our modus operandi and to let you appreciate what we go through to keep our communities safe. And today, we are going to focus the discussion on the Greater Accra Regional Command. Some few weeks ago, we were able to go into a very intense discussion with the Tema Regional Command. It is now the turn of the Greater Accra Regional Command. My name is DO3 Aka. I'm your host, and I'm going to chauffeur this program for the next 1 hour. So quickly, let me go over to my guests who are already seated here and then introduce them whilst we kickstart the conversation. I have my own boss in the studios, who is the Director, Public Relations of the Ghana National Fire Service, in the person of ACFO1, Timothy Osafo. Sir, you are welcome.
My pleasure.
I also have the Yasantua of the Greater Accra Command, who happens to be my former boss in the Ashanti region. And today I'm happy to host her on this program. She is no other person than ACFO1, Roberta Aggrey Ganson. Madam, you are welcome.
Thank you.
So let me begin with you. Madam, how has Accra been ever since you took over the command of the region? What has been the challenges? What has been the roller coaster? Hasn't been easy at all.
Journeys in life are not always smooth. There are ups, there are downs. But I'm one person who actually loves challenges, because without challenges, you cannot come out with opportunities. So once you receive those challenges, then it adds to your strength to put in place strategies, and good strategies to overcome those challenges.
Thank you, madam. We also understand that for the past 7 years, quite recently, we had to issue out some release on the number of fire outbreaks countrywide. And it appears your region and that of Ashanti are in the lead, having recorded a little over 700 fires from January to July. So what is the fire situation like? Can you give us an overview of the fire incidents in your region? Where do you normally record the most fires? Which areas are very difficult to deal with the fire situations?
Well, I would say that there are some areas that are slightly showing increases. But even when you look at the increases very well, they are increasing at a decreasing rate.
Wow.
If you are to compare trends this year as against last year. So I would say that when we look at the classification of the various fires we have as Ghana National Fire Service, with the exception of 2, I would say the rest are actually decreasing.
Okay. So if the fires in Accra is increasing but reducing at a reducing rate, then that is a good news for us to behold. Can you help us with the amount of, let's say, properties in terms of value, cash, monetary value, amount of properties that your command has been able to save from being gutted by fires?
I don't think I would be able to give you the exact figures. So I wouldn't want to say much on that.
Okay. So quickly, let me move on to ACF01 Afum. And we understand in the recent release that you did, over 94 million Ghana cedis worth of properties were salvaged from these fire ruins. What is it about? Of what importance is it to the Ghana National Fire Service, sir?
Right. So the amount of, in terms of cedis of property that was saved or salvaged by the Ghana National Fire Service is an indication of the yeoman's job that the service is playing when it comes to the development of this nation. If not for the intervention that we put in place, it means all these properties were going to be wasted by fire. And therefore, when it comes to the development of this nation, it cannot be said without mentioning the name of the fire service. Even if you look at it, some regions have not been able to provide or yet giving us what they salvage yet. And that even amounted to the almost 100 million worth of property that has been saved. We are not even talking in terms of lives that were also saved as well. As we all know, life cannot be quantified. And therefore, if even one life was saved, imagine how quantum the amount will be if all of these were put together. So it's an indication of the essence and the importance of having a fire service that is very responsive in attending to the needs of the citizens.
Thank you very much, sir. So would you agree with me that if, as at now, looking at the myriad challenges that the fire service faces, with us not having our stations all over the country and having been able to save a whooping amount of 94 million worth of properties from fire ravages, would you agree with me that if we were much more closer, a lot more fire stations were built, which were closer to the communities, well-resourced with modern firefighting equipment, we'll be able to do more than what we've done so far?
Yes, that would be an ideal situation, having to plant more fire stations that are closer to the communities than we have presently. But that notwithstanding, we are not sitting down, throwing our hands in the air. What we have put in place is to roll out in all the regions that we create. The fire should even occur. And of course, fires will occur no matter what is put in place, because there are certain fires, no matter what you do, they will occur. And so, even if the fire should occur, the citizens will be able to handle the situation until the arrival of the professionals, that is the fire service. So, in as much we need to move rapidly to ensure that more fire stations are planted within our communities. It is also important to mention that the service is doing well, rolling up a lot more intensive fire public safety awareness campaign. And for your information, most of the fires that occur in this country, before the arrival of the fire service, the citizens themselves have been able to put the fire out. An indication that people are well listening and learning from what we are teaching them, and therefore they're able to hold the fire at bay for the fire service.
Thank you so much, viewers. This is Fire Service in Focus, and today's discussion is being focused on the Greater Accra Regional Command. And therefore, this is the number that you can send us your WhatsApp. It is 050-960-8744. This number is on your screens. If you are joining us on TV, you will see this number on your screen, as well as on our social media platform. We are beaming live across all our social media platforms with the handle at JNFS Official. So you can search for us on Facebook, on TikTok, on X, Instagram, as well as on Fire Service Radio. So wherever you want to tune in, you would get us so that you can join in the conversation. So kindly send your comments to this number 050-960-8744. At a later time, we'll open the phone lines so that you can also share in or contribute to the program. So let me get back to Madam. So, Madam, you earlier on alluded to the fact that Greater Accra, even though it is the heart of the Ghana National Fire Service, recording some number of fires, but it is increasing at a decreasing rate. So can you help us with some of these causes and which areas are so prone that we are recording these numbers?
Well, currently, as I speak, we are looking at the fire records on domestic fires. It's the from January to June, as compared to January to June, decrease. The same period last year, we recorded about 234 fires. The same period this year, we are recording 233 fires. Even though there is a decrease, someone might think it is small, but it means a lot to us. And we wish that whatever educational program that we have rolled out with the public, they will still look to it and help us to reduce more of this. The other fire that is so challenging now is on electrical fires. And these are with poles, meters, transformers. With this, what I would say is that we rely solely on electricity company for them to be of immense help. As I sit here now, when you ask me why, I don't want to make a mistake, so I wouldn't want to say anything about it. But once they are professionals on these areas, we would expect that a research is done into these things for us to know how we can solve it. And sometimes they are the scene. It takes some time for them to get to wherever the cutoff is supposed to be done. Yes, we know the people might not live within that vicinity of the substation. But when we look at fire, every minute is so important to us because the period taken will determine the rate at which things are going to be destroyed. But I would wish that we would all put in place a proactive measure to help resolve some of these things. The next fire I would want to talk about is the commercial fires. And that has to do with these shops and likes. What are we doing in our shops that we are experiencing this? When you walk in town and you see most of these shops, you realize that the arrangement in place is not so encouraging. Why? Because sometimes the size of shop that we are using as compared to the amount of goods that are stocked in there are also questionable, because once the goods in place is more than what a structure can carry, you'd realize that when you look at the arrangement in place, there is no isolation or open spaces that could serve as fire breaks to retard the growth of fires for us. And this one, fire service can only educate. It beholds on the individual holding that shop or owning that shop to decide that, considering the space that I have to use as a shop, which amount of goods would be well fit in the shop. And comparing the size to sometimes the different items that are being sold in there also contribute to the fast nature or the speed at which the fires would also burn. But if as individuals or shop owners or property owners, we can consider some of these things, I think it will go a long way to help us as a nation or as individuals. Let us not forget, money is not easy to come by. So should you take a loan and your consideration is only about me selling and you are not taking into how things should be arranged, what quantity should go in there, then at the end of the day, it beholds on the nation to also see how to come back to assist such people. So I believe if we can do a lot to save it, then every individual should adapt a habit of doing maybe a personal assessment for such shops or in our offices or where we can earn a daily bread, and if possible in our homes, so that you know the amount of goods to bring in, the amount of items to bring in as compared to the space that you have.
All right. Thank you, Madam. So viewers, if you are now joining us, we are live on Fire Service TV. This is Fire Service in Focus, where we bring you everything you need to know, especially about how we operate, so that you can put your house in order to prevent fires. And today we are delving deep and then engaging the Accra Regional Command. Are you happy with the way fire service responds to your emergencies? If you are not, if you have concerns, very soon we'll open the phone line so that you can also call in and let us know so that we can address them for you. So quickly, again, let me go to Madam Ganson. You made mention of the fact that domestic fires continue to be one of the biggest threats in your region, followed by electrical installation fires, fires affecting transformers, utility poles, and electricity meters, and what have you, as well as commercial. So with the domestic, let us understand, let your listeners and your viewers understand what pragmatic measures have you put in place to bring down the rate of fires in our domestic settings, as well as electrical installation fires. What is the collaboration like? Because you were saying sometimes when these utility poles are burning, transformers are burning, and because of the risks involved, your men cannot just go there and then throw water on it for the fear of electrocution and all the associated risks. So what is the collaboration like so that the time lag between when these utility poles and transformers and electrical systems are gutted by fire and the time Electricity Company of Ghana are also able to isolate power so that your men can effectively work? We want to understand. And then also the commercial enclaves where our markets and our shops, commercial centers are burning every now and then. So would you recommend that people who are using their shops as warehouses to continue to do that? Or otherwise, are you going to recommend that every shop should also have an extinguisher? What are the pragmatic steps we want to understand? And I believe the viewer there also wants to know the steps that you are and the measures you've taken just to reduce fires in all these areas. So, Madam.
I said earlier, with the domestic fires, if we can do personal risk assessment for ourselves, that would help. That would go a long way to help all of us, both the user of the building and the emergency response team that comes in. Because once you're able to do a good assessment for yourself, you even help avoiding sometimes the fires that are to come. Some are difficult to deal with. Taking, for instance, an accidental, but if you put measures in place, good arrangements in place, you have items in your space at a reduced level, then we are assured of a wider space that can help reduce the fires. We are always giving our education. We have our safety team in place. We have the task force in place, visiting homes, visiting facilities like the commercial shop, the marketplaces. But it is the attitude of the individual. If the person comes, educates you, advise you, it beholds on the individual to see the way forward. Because whatever that we are giving you, it is tried and tested, and we are assured that we are going to have a positive result. But then you live in your house. Maybe I met you even in the market and gave you the education, because once I meet you in the market and we are sharing this education, not only will the education factor in your the space we met you, we try to add the domestic settings as well. But if you take it, you go home and it is not implemented, then it's like no work is done. But with the decrease that we are seeing, we know some work is being done, but we wish that more effort is put in to help us reduce even the fires in our nation. The other one I would want to speak about is the commercial fires. There are people responsible for these wiring systems, even in our homes and in our shops. I know the electricity company has a role to play. The Energy Commission has given license to other people to supervise the lines before these service lines are being connected. But sometimes you get to the fire scene and you realize that even the service line that is coming has so many joints. And these joints can even produce some frictional effects, which might also not be safe. Sometimes you see wires connected to the meters and they are undersized. So you wonder who did what before the supply was brought in. So even though we are doing the education, but I believe we cannot do it all. What I would say is that we would appeal to the other agencies that are to support our effort to also put in place the right measures so that we together we can all enjoy the fire safety or the free fire organs of our nation.
All right, thank you. So let me go to Peter. The statistics that you released quite recently, it pointed to the fact that about 1/3 of the fire outbreaks that we record for some years now are being extinguished by the populace. What difference thing is Ghana National Fire doing that is helping the service achieve that success? And the listeners also want to understand what efforts are you going to put in to ensure that a lot more people are given what they require to be able to handle fires on their premises.
Right. So that is true. Now, the good news is that a lot more incidents are being handled by the general public, an indication that if we continue with what we are doing, the results will be very, very great for all of us. There is, however, something that as a service we can do, and that is the enforcement of safety protocols in our homes. Because like you indicated...
Is it just homes?
Like you indicated, I'm coming. There is a law that is hanging. We've not been able to enforce it. Now, my concern has to do with this. Previously, we used to have the industries recording a lot of incidents like we're having in our domestic settings now. But because we are enforcing that law, so industrial incidents have reduced drastically. And it goes to the advantage of our industries because they are no more losing a lot of their products to fire incidents. And therefore, if government should help us to enforce that law that has to do with our domestic settings, then the probability of we reducing or cutting this by be more than half, it is there. Because if we look at the industrial setting and how we'll be able to cut down the incidence of fires in such areas, then I am of the very high hope that if the law is implemented in our domestic settings, then we will also be able to achieve a similar thing. So enforcement of the law is one. And that one, there are some intricacies with the laws that we need to act with the private sector. Unfortunately, we've not been able to come to an agreement with the private sector because what we did earlier on was not ratified by government. Therefore, we need to sit down with government again and look at how that law can effectively be implemented. And the reason why we need the participation of the private sector is that the law indicates that the fire service is to provide firefighting equipment, alarms, and warning systems in our various homes. Then once these facilities are provided, we go in to train the occupants of the facilities so that in the event of any eventuality, they'll be able to effectively use these equipments that have been provided. And you know, fire equipments are expensive. The fire service itself does not have the financial muscle to do this. And this is how we need to collaborate with the private sector so that we actually roll out the implementation of this law. And I believe that is one aspect of the things that we need to do to ensure that the 30% and above of all fire incidents recorded in Ghana that occurs in our residential facilities can be drastically reduced. So if you ask me, enforcement is one, and then having a real look at the way we educate the public by tailoring our educational campaign to suit specific areas. For example, if we have a lot of fires in our slums, do we go into the slums and educate as we do in other domestic settings? I believe that we need to approach them with a different way so that we can change attitudes. Once attitudes are able to be affected, then change will come. And this change will, in effect, result in the outcomes that we are eventually looking for.
Thank you very much, ACFO1 Timothy Osafo from Director PR. So, as part of the pragmatic steps being taken by the service to curtail fire outbreaks in the country, we are looking at enforcement of our codes, the safety codes. Once we are able to do enforcement, please, when it's time for enforcement and we come to your premises, don't go and bring your Busha Penny, who is in his cloth with all his poma and everything, to just come and beg. Please don't do that, because very soon we are going to enforce our safety codes so that we would ensure that fires are nipped in the bud. Again, we talked about the fact that we need to change our approach. Sometimes for the same method that you use for one particular premises, we need to. So that is what the service is going to do. We will take a short break. When we come, we will delve into the situation in the Greater Accra Command. We would ask the regional command as to how many of a personnel got injured in the course of the year and how are they doing now. The state of the fire appliances in the region and whether they are all in active service or out of commission. Those which are out of commission, what are the steps being taken to bring them back on the road to serve us? And then also look at why is it that people still don't feel comfortable having a lot of confidence in the Ghana National Fire Service. So that will be answered by the Director PR. Keep your dial logged up here on Fire Service TV. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the show continues.
I came across power safety technology. So I introduced that into our residents, who are more than 4,000. And over the period, they have testified how power safety technology has saved them when the need arises.
Power safety. Safety is our hallmark.
Welcome back, our cherished viewers. We appreciate you so much for staying with us throughout this discussion. This is Fast Service in Focus, a program that comes your way every Monday, 2 p.m. And it is centered on our modus operandi so that you can appreciate what we do and then give us the support that is needed to be able to serve your interests. Today, we are focusing on Greater Accra Command. We are finding out their issues pertaining to the fires that they record, the measures they are taking to prevent these occurrences, and then also the state of the appliances and what have you. Let me quickly go on our socials and then get some comments from some of our viewers. This is Simon Michael Yanukwa, watching you live from Northeast region. Please work on the sound. Production team, I believe if there are issues with the sound, please check it for us. Kobe Bansa, please, the mail for recruitment is not responding. Oh, Kobe, it's unfortunate that this platform is not meant for discussing the ongoing recruitment, but we would touch on it at the tail end of our program. Solomon Bako, please, I have sent my information to the website, but Solomon, it's quite unfortunate. We didn't ask you to send any information to any particular website. It was an email that was given. Just follow instructions and then you'll be free. Craft, Father Ahmed Swalihi, and Mauna Agbeno Agbe, Kwame Entry, Dason Boone, Nana Equia Ofusu Desmond, Begina Edem Darlington, Jambo B Job Jam. We thank you for watching. Iba Shadow, Setofia, Senior Ali. We appreciate you for joining us live on our socials. Senior Ali, good morning. Good afternoon. Okay, please, my younger sister makes the call from an emergency number 112 this morning. Sorry. Godsway Gamali, Joseph Buakai, Fatima. Oh, it seems most of the things, the messages that we are getting is on the ongoing recruitment. I'm begging you, please, if you are joining us on this show, this is Fire Service in Focus. Today we are highlighting or talking about Accra Regional Command and what they've been able to do so far. So let's your comments, let's border on what we are discussing, and then we would be glad to help you. So, madam, our viewers want to understand how many of your men have been injured and what is their condition now.
I think from January to now, people getting injured at emergencies. I think they are recovering. They went to admission. They are discharged. Some were supposed to be taken back to theater for whatever, and the service paid those bills for those people to have that surgery done. So I would say the last time we met, that was about 2 weeks ago. They were doing very well, and I am praying that they may receive total healing.
All right, thank you. So the good news is that the 4 persons who, I think they work at Legon Fire Station, they got injured during the Westland structural collapse. They were fighting the fire and the building collapsed on them. Fortunately, and the good news is that they are all out of danger, recuperating. We are praying that their recuperation ends well so that they can join us in full service. So, madam, can you say that all the fire engines in Greater Accra region are in commission?
It is a mechanism. So once it's a mechanism, there are likely to be some faults. But as and when the fault surfaces, our men are available to work on. For instance, as we speak, we have 4 appliances that were down. 2 were fixed the weekend, but yesterday when they were going for the road tests, a different fault showed up on the 2. 2 different faults showed up on the 2. One had to do with electricals. The other has to do with a mechanical problem. This morning, the mechanics went to fix it. But with one, there is a device that must be procured. And we are combing through the market to see if we can have it. The remaining 2 are technical problems, and it takes time to resolve them. They are on it, they are working on it, and we are believing God that by the end of the month, we should be done with those ones. But I can assure the public, we have majority of the vehicles working so that in times of emergency, we can move to wherever we are supposed to move. But we are trusting that those 4 for the various communities would come back to road very soon.
All right, so viewers, that is the assurance from the Greater Accra Regional Commander that most of the vehicles within her command are working, except a few which are out of order. Even that her outfit is working so hard to bring them back on the road. The contingency is that if you are within a community whose fire engine has broken down, it is not as if she's not aware or they are not doing anything. The nearest fire stations are on red alert and are on standby, so that in any emergency situation, they could come in to assist you. What we require of you is that call us as soon as you detect the emergency. There's this comment from Senior Ali, please. With regards to the recruitment, we are not calling anyone on 112 or 050 00859796. No, that is not the number coming from fire service. That is scam. Please beware of these fraudulent scam or scammers who are out there to dupe unsuspecting people. We told you that we'll send you an email or an SMS when the time is due. So, ACFO 1 EFUM, there is this growing perception out there that a section of Ghanaians do not show appreciation for the work that you do. I know many a times fire rescuers, firefighters had gone to emergency situations where people are trapped, people are maimed, blood all over, and they sometimes find it very difficult to even eat because of what they see. Psychologically, some of them have been traumatized, and regardless, they respond to every other emergency. Last week or so, there was this gentleman on social media making mockery of our sacrifices and everything. What do you say to that? Is it a good practice? What is the service going to do to clamp down on some of those people who kind of make derogatory remarks about the good work that we know fire service is doing?
Thank you very much for this question. But before then, let me address or add to what Regional Commander has said. You see, when it comes to injury of the firefighter, it may not be immediate. In other words, it cannot be physical injury. All the injuries, most of them are long-term injuries. and they have to do with respiratory diseases because of the type of job and the air that we take in. So most of these diseases are long-term, and they have to do with respiratory diseases. And mostly it is when the firefighter has gone on retirement that all these diseases surfaces. And so people should not take it that, but so the whole of Accra from January to July, you had only 4 injuries. It goes more and beyond that, because like I indicated, these are long-term. They may not surface today. It is only when you are lucky, you go on retirement safely, then these diseases begin to show up. Others have to do with the skin. So skin cancers are also rampant when it comes to firefighters. So these are the things that the firefighter face. It is not the physical injury. As for the physical injury, when they occur today, we will know whether you'll be able to make it or not. But the long-term ones that will have to do with respiratory diseases. Sometimes a firefighter goes to the hospital and the doctor will tell you, if you don't stop smoking, you will die. Meanwhile, the person has never smoked before. And these are the things we are talking about here. Then there is also this issue of fixation when it comes to increase in number of fires. You know, when fires are increasing, it's an indication that a country is developing. And more especially when it has to do with Africa and Ghana, to be specific, when we use heat in our daily activities. So we should expect that the fires will go up. What is important is that those fires that can be prevented, we'll be able to prevent them. That is, for me, my concern. If we're able to prevent the fires that are not supposed to occur, that is the basic. We have done our job. But for the fires, they will increase from year to year because we are developing as a country. Coupled with migration from the north to the south and from other neighboring countries into the country, when they come, the first place they stop are the slums.
Squatters.
Yes, they become squatters and they settle in the slums. And these are where we record a lot more incidents. So we should anticipate that fires will go up. For me, that is not a concern. My concern is that there are certain fires that can be prevented. And those fires, we must educate our public to be able to prevent such fires from occurring. Now, on the appreciation of the general public, on the services that we provide for them, you know, it's not everybody that is even happy with you when they see you in your nice uniform. So for such people, whether you do good or you do bad, they will talk about you. For me, that is not what I'm looking at. I am looking at the people who show very good appreciation to the firefighter because they know what the firefighter has done for them. It is not the person who is sitting on social media and be lambasting you because he's envious of you. Such people, no matter what you do, they will continue to lambast you. So I am urging my colleague firefighters that don't bother yourself about such people. Continue to do what you have been taught to do and what you know to do best. Continue to save lives, continue to save properties. At the appropriate time, the people themselves will reward you and appreciate your performance. And I know we are doing a lot more that people are appreciating. We will continue to receive messages and letters appreciating the efforts that the firefighter has put in place to save a community and a family or an individual. So for me, yes, you cannot get everybody on your side. But once we have the majority of the people on our side, God being our helper, we'll be able to do and continue to do extensively well than what we are doing. What is important is that we have the cooperation of the public. Once we have the cooperation of the public and with other incentives that will help us to perform our job, look, I have always been saying that the Ghanaian firefighter is one of the best when it comes to firefighting in the world. And what we need is the appropriate PPEs that's supposed to accompany us to do our job and the required equipment that we need as well. And for my dear fellow firefighters, don't give up. Look, no matter what you do, some will appreciate you, others will not appreciate. So that shouldn't be your concern. Once you know that, you look back and see that you have done what is expected of you, be of free mind and go ahead with what you are doing.
Madam, any addition?
What I would want to add, or what I want to say to my colleague firefighters, is that have it at the back of your mind that you cannot control the thoughts and the minds of people, but you can have control over your thoughts. So depending on what the person wants to say or the way the person is thinking, it is with the individual. But you look at the positive things that you have done. Draw energy for the positive to urge you on to do your best.
Thank you, Madam. So the encouraging words from Director PR and then Accra Regional Commander is that once we have the majority of the Ghanaian populace behind us, who are constantly motivating us, they've seen what we've been doing. It's not that they don't know what we do. So the few who have the penchant of going about denigrating our hard work and sacrifices, let us try and do our best. And at the end of the day, posterity will judge us. But you see, what is most painful is the people who are supposed to even support you as a state agency to provide you with all the required logistics and an appropriate personal protective equipment and all the tools required to do your work will turn about not doing that and be ridiculing you. And we believe that is not fair. So for those of you who like passing the derogatory comments about our work, time is going to catch up with you, because the fire service is doing it best just to ensure Ghanaians are safe. And we are going to do more to even shame you. So, Madam, let me quickly ask you. So our viewers want to understand the relationship between your command and that of Ghana Water Limited, ECG. What has been the relationship in terms of the hydrant they are supposed to build in terms of pertaining to Ghana Water Company, and then the utility poles, the collaboration when there is any fire affecting this electrical installation, the hurriedness they must give you to isolate power from such enclaves to enable firefighters do what they are known best to do. So what has been like?
What I would say is that the relationship is very okay among the agencies concerned. But just like I said, a lot depends on us as individuals. With some individuals, whatever you need to do what is expected has been provided. But what is the attitude of that individual who is to? You know, I am with the fourth section. I am supposed to be on standby for 24 hours. Is the person available at a time? At the end of the day, it affects the image of the agency. But then you speak to the person in authority and they will tell you, oh, our men were there. But maybe the person left his post to maybe buy kenke or something elsewhere. And once that happens, at the end of the day, it affects all of us. With water company, what I would say is that anytime we are in need, what happens is that there might not be a closer hydrant, but moving to the next closer one, they mostly boost the pressure from there for that hydrant for us to get use for our firefighting purpose. I would want to recommend Malcolm for a good job they did for the Ghana National Fire Service when we had fire at the Medina market. The hydrant happened to be a private hydrant, but they willingly opened the place for us to draw water from their premises to fight the commercial fire. And we wish all private hydrants would learn from this and help us when the need arises, because as an institution or as a shop, once you are taking the money, the community should also benefit from whatever business you are doing in the area. And some of those benefits is your corporate social responsibility within the community you operate in. I would again extend our appreciation to another company in Kulenu for the support when the need arises for them to support the Ghana National Fire Service, to have a part that was so difficult for us to get because we had combed everywhere and we were not getting it. And they took it upon themselves to get it for us to fix the Medina appliance. Director, we say a very big thank you. Malcolm, Medina, we say thank you, and we appreciate all what you have done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. So viewers, all too soon, program is about wrapping up. The phone number to call is 050-960-8744. 050-960-8744. Let me take the final words from Esiwa Fum. Esi, a lot of the comments, though deviating from today's discussion, has been we've sent a message, we've not received the email feedback and all that. What do you have for them?
Once you send the message and the message went through, don't bother about whether you received feedback or not. From the very onset when the program started, we had the technical issues, therefore we could not get auto reply. However, along the line, it was rectified and people began receiving the auto response. For those who are complaining that they are being rejected, it means you are feeding the system with wrong information. And once you feed the system with wrong information, you will be rejected. For example, you are supposed to send to recruitment@gnfs.gov.gh. And the address is very specific. And so if you do anything outside that, the system will reject you. You were supposed to send specific information as well. If you go beyond sending any other thing, the system will reject you. So please, don't complain that you are being rejected when you are doing the wrong thing. It is to follow instructions. You are the same people who complain that time we call the fire service and it has taken them too long to arrive. Look, we go by standards. And the standards start from right when we ask you to do the things that are required of you. If sending simple information, you cannot send it, and you are sending other things, what do you expect? Meanwhile, you are the same people who complain that the fire service is not up to task. If you are not up to task, just send information about yourself and you are not able to send it. Are you up to task?
Well, so applicants just obey simple instructions and ensure that you send your details to recruitment@gnfs.gov.gh.
There was fire around Dankwa Circle, and the lady was mentioning that we called fire service and fire service was not responding. So myself and Deputy Acting Director Operations, we asked her the number that she called on. And she said *192#.
Hey.
And this is not a phone number.
Oh.
So please make sure you pick our numbers rightly so that we can be there at the exact time we are supposed to. And this exact time is within 4 minutes, so that if there should be the problem of traffic, at least 6 to 10 minutes, we would be there. It is not *192#. No, it is 192 or 112. Thank you.
Commander, by way of final words, your personnel are watching you. What do you have to say just to boost their morale?
Well, what I would say is that I appreciate everything you are doing for Mother Ghana. And I know we can still do more. Let us be and do our best. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I know you can do more. Let us be and do our best to serve the people who chastise us, who criticize us even for the good things that we do. And we know that with time, they will come to terms with what we do. This has been Fire Service in Focus. I have been your host, DO3 Desmond Aka. My guests were my own boss, Director PR, ACFO1, Timothy Safo Efum, and the Greater Accra Regional Commander, ACFO1, Roberta Agri Gansen. I believe you have enjoyed the show. Keep your comments coming. Do the right thing. Send the right information to the recruitment email provided, and you will sail through. Mind you, tomorrow is the deadline. If you don't do it by close of today, I don't know. All the best to all those who will qualify. Thank you for joining us. Same time next week.